Okay, so if we are looking at 3.6 and we're starting these problems with investing or paying off money, we're going to start with a basic equation. I'm going to call it A equals P 1 plus R over K, and then raised to the K times T. Let's talk about what all this means. P is what we start with. It's your principal amount. A is what we finish with. It's your final amount. R is your rate. So that's your percentage. That's what I was talking about. If you have a higher rate, you have to pay more. If you have a lower rate, you pay less. K is how much you're compounding. Now, compounding is a word that I always felt like math teachers use, and I was like, never heard that word in real life. Compounding is like how much you're paying something or how much like something is like changing in your account. So like when I make my monthly car payment, that's compounded monthly. T is my time and it's in years. Okay. The hardest part is plugging it into the calculator. So I highly encourage you to have your calculator out with us so we can use it as needed. You can follow along with me. You can plug in the right equation, but if you can't get the answer I get in my calculator, you're going to have an issue. All right, now that we have the formula, any questions on that? All right, let's start going. Let's plug in a few of them. This first one says, how long will it take for an investment of $1,000 to double if the bank pays 2.5% interest compounded quarterly? What am I finding? What am I going to look for? What tells you A, Brooke? What's the question asking, L? T years, right? T for years. How long is years? Good. So a lot of times you do find final, Brooke, and that's why I asked, because always we want to find, like we think we're always finding final. We're not. My final amount isn't even listed, but it's implied on the wording. It says we're investing $1,000. So my 1,000 is my principal. And it says, how long will it take to double? If it's doubling, what is the end amount in my bank account? 2,000. So I'm going to use 2,000 for my A. I'm going to do 1 plus R, which is my rate. Make sure I know it's a decimal, but it's also a percent. So you need to move the decimal place 2 over. That's the biggest mistake I've seen in our classes so far. So 0.025, and it's compounded quarterly. So quarterly is 4 times. If you ever work in business, they're really big into like, in quarter 1, this is going to happen. In quarter 2, if anyone follows the stocks, they talk about like quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 4, etc. That's what it's talking about. First 3 months, second 3 months, blah, 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 blah. And then it's being raised to your quarterly. So it's happening 4 times, and it's happening for how many years? We don't know. T. We're going to find T. Okay. We have to find T, and I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to have to use our log knowledge in order to find T because it's an exponent. So let's do as much simplifying as possible, and then we'll see how we can log it. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to do what's in the parentheses. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 0.025 divided by 4 plus 1. And that gives me 1.00625. That's still being raised to the 4t. And in that same step, I'm going to move the 1,000 to the other side. I'm going to divide by 1,000. The reason I'm going to do that is because I want to get just the number raised to the exponent on one side. On this side, I just have this big number being raised to an exponent. This is how I'm going to roll my log and put it in log form to solve. In order to put it in log form to solve, I need to move them across the equal sign. I'm flipping across the equal sign so that I can physically see what my log roll is going to look like. I'm going to go with this number. That's what I'm going to start with. Roll on through. I'm in exponential form, so to go to log form, I need to physically write log. I'm going to write log of the first number I saw, which is 1.00625 of 2 equals the exponent, which is 4t. Questions on that? Do you guys remember how to put this in the calculator with the log base 1.00625? You can go to your math and scroll down to get capital A. If you do not have that, you have to use change of base and ask me and I can show you how to do that. When I plug in log base 1.00625 of 2, I get 111.25 is equal to 4t. Divide that by 4 to get t by itself. And I get about 27.8. Everyone okay with that? Now, depending on how you round, you might be off like a couple decimals or a whole point, and we'll see that as we go. I really try not to round at all if possible, but I know sometimes that happens. So try and keep it like carried through your calculator as much as possible or plugged in all at once. But if you can't do that, just show me as much work as possible. And if you're off by like a decimal or a couple numbers, you'll be okay. So this is saying it takes 27.8 years in order to double my initial deposit investment. Questions, concerns? Shall we keep going? All right, number 2. How much will be in the account at the end of 10 years if 1,230 is invested at 3.125% interest compounded monthly? What am I looking for? Are you all done? You do the backside? Okay. Final amount. Very good. So Jared says we're looking for the final amount. Wait, Drew, or no, Barrett, come back. You're allowed to leave. Who's your teacher? Oh yeah, Cataldo, the librarian. Okay, I'm gonna email her really quick. Okay, so tell her to look for an email from me. Can you plug that in? If you want me to plug it right for you, then we can solve it and talk about it. I do got to do that email though. Okay, so Jared says we're looking for the final amount. We're starting by putting 1,230 in at a rate of 3.125. So I got to make that a decimal, 0.03125. It's compounded monthly, so that's happening times divided by 12. My exponent is 12 times 10 because it's happening monthly and for 10 years. Okay, why don't you try and solve that? Try and find A. Yeah. I do not. I'm sorry. We had some at one point, but I think we've used them all. All right. When I plugged it in yesterday, I got 1,680.53. I know some people in my last class got 1,679 point something. Did anyone get that? Might be because you rounded a little different. That's fine. As long as you plug it in right and as long as you're close, I will like kind of know what the common like rounding answer should be. So I will double check all of those. Questions so far? Okay, I want to skip number 3. It's talking about growth constant. I don't want to do that today. Number 4, though, says how much do I need to deposit into an account paying 4% interest compounded continuously if I want to have 35,000 in exactly 10 years? So this one says compounded continuously. It's not quarterly, it's not monthly, it's not daily, it's continuously. So we got another formula for that. We have, it's a little bit simpler. It's called A part. A equals P E, like the constant E that you can put in your calculator, and then raised to the RT. A, R, and T are exactly what they were before. A is like the final amount. P is my start or my principal. E is like the constant in your calculator. Again, make sure you plug that in. R is rate, and T is time. So we're doing exactly the same thing. We just don't have a compounded number. L? Oh, number 2 was 1,680. Okay. So let's plug it in. How much do I need to deposit? What is that asking for, Becca? Oh, E is like the number in your calculator. It's like a constant. Yep. Initial. Very good. We don't know how much we need to start with. So we're going to use P as the variable here. So I'm going to have P. What do I want to end with? 35,000. I'm going to do E. Again, I'll use that in the calculator in a second. And then what's my rate? 0.04. And then time is 10. Anyone having trouble plugging that in? Okay. All right, so I've got 35,000 equals P, E, and then 0.04 times 10 is going to be just 0.4. Bless you. Now I know E is a number that we've like raised to powers and such like that, and done ln's and etc. This though is just P times E. If I'm timesing something, to get rid of the E, I'm just going to divide. I'm just dividing by E raised to the 0.4. And so I can easily put that in my calculator. 35,000 divided by E to the 0.4. You guys know where the E button is in your calculator, right? When I plug that in, and I didn't do any rounding, I physically did what I wrote right there. I put that directly in my calculator, and I got $23,461.20. So that's how much I need to start with. If that's the rate that I'm earning, that's the amount of time, and that's what I want to end with. If you round it, I think last class we got 23,333. So if that's something similar more to what you got, that's also okay. Okay, questions so far? Okay, on the next page, we're skipping 5 and 6 for right now. And I want you to try 7 and 8, either by yourself or with a partner. I want you to set it up. I want you to solve it, and then we're going to talk about it all together. Questions, thoughts? All right, feel free to scooch on over to somebody else. Are you all done? You are going to go to resource on the email Mr. Leader right now. I think, yeah, we still have enough time. So I'm sending the email right now, so you go ahead, and by the time you get there, you should have it. Okay. Thank you so much, Drew. See you later. You can do that. And I would do the reason that this calculator is giving you the decimal here to make it okay, perfect. So yes, you can do these separately, but then we're gonna do this next to get and then more. Oh, sorry, I think that's
Yeah.
remember money has time, so we need to take that reduction. Yeah. So the use system here is done continuously. So whenever it happens continuously, it's not happening like quarterly or monthly or weekly. So I physically don't have a number to put in here. What we've decided as like mathematicians is that like this is the best representation.
So just another.
Yes. Like there is a connection. Yes, there is. You shouldn't use none of it. I actually messed it up earlier and I was wired to use it. So this one says it's entirely continuously. So once you can use this one here. So you said it was like monthly, but we didn't know it was monthly. You said it was going to be so next would be rate and time. So do you have rate? Nope, put it on. Do you have time? No, keep going. What I need you to remember is that we have to do an exponential so instead of multiplying the number, you just that high. I'll go about 4 places on a number that are not so far down. And then remember at the end.
The second one.
So is it being added or multiplied? Like is this 890 being added or subtracted or multiplied or what? Multiplied. If you don't see a sign, it's multiplied. How you doing? Now, kind of go. You should have an extra 0 in there. It should be like 0.0.
This is the
Yes, I think you need to divide by 800. And then what you like what you were trying to do, have it in the log. You guys divide first before you log. Yeah. Yeah, is right. Yep. I'll write it down. What log base is it? So the reason it doesn't have that is because you put the as a digital box. Yes, you can, so remember log base is the same thing. What you were doing was right, and just like you see the empty box. You were mad about this one back there. Yeah. That's And then we got like this numeration. Really hard to log in. We have to log Now, remember that money is 2 places after the decimal place, Gabby? Okay, take a minute, finish the one you're on, even if you're not done. You may have the same question as I did. Or someone else did. I got 8.4, you got 8.34. Oh. Oh, done. I was like, how do I know that? Well, something's a little off on your rounding, but it's usually all of that. All right, stop where you're at. Let's join you on the board. I think that number 7 we did pretty well on. So let's go over that one first.
Yeah, you made it work. You made it win.
So again, I asked you to try 7 and 8 on your own or with a partner. You guys did really well. Almost all of us set it up correctly the first time. 1 plus. The biggest mistake I see here, or in a problem like this one, you normally do this perfectly, except for forgetting the percentage. That 3.5 makes 0.035. So double check yourself there. When I plugged that in, I got 844.17. If you are just some cents off or $1 or 2 off, you should be fine. That's just the rounding difference. I don't think rounding is that important. I've got other bigger fish to fry than the rounding, so I just don't care that much. Questions, thoughts? All right, next one is the one that was a little harder. Remember, continuously tells me that it's my A part equation with the E. So get A equals PERT. We know that we want to end with $1,000 if we put in 890. And we don't know my rate, but I want it to happen in 3 years. A lot of us got here pretty easily. Next thing we want to do is we have to get the exponent alone at some point. In order to do that, we're going to have to log roll, but we cannot log roll until we only have a number with a power on one side and everything else on the other side. I have to move everything else to the other side, which is this 890. So it's going to be e to the R3 or 3R. They're the same. I'm just being lazy and weird on that one. And 1,000 divided by 890 is about 1.12 something. I probably should have gone 4 decimal places, but it's not going to matter in the long run. At this point, I would rewrite it so it looks nicer and so that my number with the exponent is on the left side, not the right side. And so now I can easily log roll. Log base E of 1.12 equals 3R. Log base E of 1.12 equals 3R. A lot of us know that log base E is the same thing as ln. So we can go directly to ln, but don't lose the E that we have. When I do ln of 1.12 divided by 3, I get 0.0388 equals R, or something along those lines, something very close. This is a rate. We know that rate is in terms of percentage, so I do need to make this a percentage. 3.88, 3.89%, whatever, something along those lines equals R. Questions, comments, thoughts? All right, we're going to do one more concept. We will not finish all of this, but we're going to do one more concept today. If you flip your paper over, we got these crazy, dumb looking formulas. They're about present value and future value. I've already told you about some of my present value personal finance things, right? A present value that I'm still paying off is my car payment. So an example of a present value would be any like car payment. Another present value I'm paying is my mortgage. Those are both things that the bank had to loan me money on. The bank paid those people all that money. I have to now pay back the bank. These are happening right now in the present time. Future value things are things like a retirement fund. It's things like a mutual fund. I'm going to be quite honest. I don't quite know what a mutual fund is, but I know that it's a future thing. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to pretend like I know things like that. I don't know that. And then another thing that's common is a savings account. So these are two different formulas that look super, super similar, but they talk about different things. So one of them is talking about like you have to pay it right now because it's a car or a house or something like that. And then one thing is like something that we're paying off for the future and we want to know what's going to happen in the future. We're going to look at these equations in 1 second, but let's look at 9, 10, and 11 and decide whether they are present or future. Number 9 says Carlos purchases a new pickup. What are the monthly payments? Blah, 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 blah. Who thinks future? Who thinks present? Why present? What's like a key word or something that you saw there? What'd you say? Truck, car. Anyone say a different word than that? Purchases, yeah. So since this is like a car thing that like we pay, this had to be paid. Now I'm paying that off every month. This is a present value. What about number 10? At the end of each quarter, Emily makes $500 payment into this mutual fund. If her investments earn this, what will her value be in 20 years? Who thinks future? Why? Will. That is huge. Look at our verb tense. What will her thing be? And then the other key word was the mutual fund. Very good. So that's a future value. And then the last one on this page, we have a 30-year house loan from the bank. What is her monthly payment? Who thinks future? Who thinks present? Good. House is monthly payment. That's present. That's half the battle. You guys did a great job with that. Let's actually do one of them now. So let's go do number 9. I'm looking at this present value equation. I called it a dumb equation a minute ago. I'd stand by that. I think it's dumb. I do think that I'm not wasting brain cells memorizing it. I will give that to you on a test. Know something else. I don't need you to know that. I do need you to know, though, 2 things. If you see this little I anywhere, those little i's mean R divided by K. So that's my rate over K. So they tried to simplify it, but in turn made it more complicated. Because now I was like, I didn't know what I was. I thought it was imaginary. It really means, bless you, R over K. And then this is an N right there. It's a negative N in my present value, and it's a positive N in my future value. When you see N, that means K times T. We have all the same pieces as before, but we've got a couple extra things like R's and 1s. R is your payment every month. So if I'm looking at number 9, Carlos purchased a new pickup truck for this much. What are his monthly payments? We don't know his monthly payments. I don't know what R is. It also says something about a down payment. Do you guys know what a down payment is? Can someone explain that to me? Jared? Would you say $2,000? Puts it down right away, right? He doesn't have $18,000, but he does have $2,000, so he's going to pay off $2,000. So how much is his present value if he already paid $2,000? Good. We take what we had. We get to take off those $2,000. The present value is my $16,500. He already paid his $2,000. He doesn't need to do that again. We've got a big set of parentheses. I've got a big fraction bar. I know that I've got 1 minus 1 plus, and then it says I. Remember, I is your R divided by K. So R, it's kind of dark on your sheet, but it's at 2.9%. So I'm going to do 0.029. He's making monthly payments, so I'm compounding monthly. So my K is 12. Oh, that's also the same thing in the very, very bottom denominator. 0.029 over 12. See, I have I in both places, I and I. I have this fraction in both places. And then the last thing I have not filled in yet is that negative n. So I need to raise it to the negative 12 times, how many years is it? 4. 12 times 4. Whew, that's that yucky equation. Any questions on what I plugged in? I'm just going to go slowly through this. I'm going to simplify the top of the equation. I'm going to simplify the bottom. The bottom is actually the first one I'm going to do. 0.029 divided by 12. That's just a very simple math. 0.0024. I think 4 places after the decimal is a pretty safe place to round it. I did not change the left side. I did not change my R. Now, if I go on top, I'm going to start by the parentheses. I'm going to do my 1 plus 0.029 divided by 12. And that gives me 1.024. I'm going to raise that to my power 12, negative 12 times 4, which is at negative 24, or negative 48. And I'm just going to keep going in my calculator because I'm just going to do 1 minus that number. So in my calculator, I've got 0.89. I'm going to do 1 minus that number. So I on top get 0.1094. You guys are doing great. We're almost done. We're going to just finish this off. We'll do our 1.094 divided by 0.0024, which I got 45.58. And then my last step, how do I get R by itself? Divide. 16,500 divided by 45.58, and I get $362 even. So that's how much Carlos has to pay monthly for his truck.
Carlos needs to get a better interest rate. Pay for a truck. Never pay, never, hey, by the way, never buy a truck on credit. Just pay cash.
We did a little talk on personal finance. Do you want to give any advice?
Yeah, do not go into debt. Do not go into debt for anything. Debt is evil. That is it changes your life forever. And if you're in debt, you know what my best advice is? Get out of debt fast. 18 months max.
I just talked about my car payment and my mortgage payment, so I don't know if
Coach, you and I need to work together. Hey, the mortgage, okay, I'll let you go with the mortgage. We got to get rid of the car payment.
I'm almost done with my car payment. I finished in April.
All right, we got to get done. Can we finish it now? Come on, there's enough in savings. Taking a renter for 2 months.
Why would I finish it now if I can just finish my payment every month?
Then you can take your car payment and put it towards your house.
But I still have it's the same amount. It's just whether I pay it this month or next month or the month after that.
You'll save a little bit of interest. But again, you can take that money and put it towards your house.
But then I still have to do money for everything else.
How long have you lived in your house? But you're used to making that car payment. You got to roll it into something else. You know,
Well, yeah, when I'm done with that.
yeah. If you roll it in your house payment, $300 extra for your house payment, that's a month. That's $6. I'll show you the amortization schedule, see how it rolls, how much money you save up.
All right, Cam, Janae, and I, you guys are free to go. Oh, I will stop recording this and I will put this on YouTube. We have a quiz tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, let me know.